Hi everyone, my name is Sophie. I'm 29 years old. I need to tell you about the Sunday dinner that ended everything, because some moments are so perfectly crystalline in their cruelty that they change the entire trajectory of your life. My sister Rachel was visiting from Boston. She'd flown in Friday and Mom had been cooking for 2 days straight. Her famous pot roast, homemade rolls, the works. Rachel was the golden child, the responsible one, the daughter who'd made something of herself, with her MBA and her consulting job and her perfectly highlighted hair. I'd driven over from my studio apartment after closing the coffee shop where I worked weekends. My weekday job was at a nonprofit making $38,000 a year doing community outreach. I smelled like espresso and exhaustion. Rachel was showing everyone photos on her tablet. "This is the property we're looking at in Newton," she said, swiping through images of a renovated Victorian with a wraparound porch. 4 bedrooms, original hardwood, the neighborhood is perfect. "How much?" Dad asked, leaning in with that expression he reserved exclusively for Rachel. Proud, engaged, present. $850,000, Rachel said. "We've been pre-approved, but the down payment is steep. Even with Jacob's signing bonus, we're about $200,000 short of what we'd need for the full 20% down." Mom and Dad exchanged a look. One of those married couple telepathic conversations that happens in 3 seconds flat. "We can help with that," Dad said. I stopped cutting my pot roast. The knife hung suspended over the plate. "Dad, no," Rachel said, but her voice had that practiced protest quality. The kind that means, "Convince me." "That's too much." "You're responsible," Mom said firmly. "You've always been responsible. You finished your MBA, you married well, you've built a real career. This is what we've been saving for, to invest in our children's futures when they've earned it." "When they've earned it," I repeated quietly. 5 heads turned toward me like I'd fired a starting pistol. "Something to say, Sophie?" Dad asked. His warmth from 2 seconds ago had evaporated completely. "I was just wondering what the criteria are," I said. My voice stayed level through years of practice. "For earning investment." "Rachel has demonstrated fiscal responsibility," Dad said, using his boardroom voice. "She has a career path. She's made smart choices. She's proven she can handle money wisely." "And I haven't?" I asked. "You work at a coffee shop," Mom said like I'd confessed to drug trafficking. "You have a degree in environmental science that you're not using. You're 29 and you share an apartment. What exactly have you proven, Sophie?" "I asked for help with my student loans 3 years ago," I said. The pot roast was getting cold on my plate. "I had $47,000 at 7.2% interest. You said no. Because you chose to study something unmarketable," Dad said. "Environmental science. We told you to study business or medicine. You made your choice. You live with the consequences." "Rachel's MBA cost $120,000, I said. "You paid for all of it. Because Rachel chose wisely," Mom cut in, defensive now. "She chose a degree with ROI. Return on investment, Sophie. Do you understand that concept?" My hands felt very cold. "I asked for $8,000 to take an agricultural business certificate program last year. You said it was a waste of money." "It would have been," Dad said flatly. "Farming? In this economy? You're living in a fantasy world, Sophie. You always have been. Rachel lives in reality. That's the difference. The difference is you decided I was a failure when I was 16, I said quietly, and you've been confirming that decision ever since." "Don't be dramatic," Rachel said. Her first words to me directly all evening. "Mom and Dad are just being practical. When you graduated high school they bought you a car," I said, looking at her. "When I graduated they gave me a Target gift card. When you finished your MBA they took you to Italy. When I finished my bachelor's we went to Applebee's. You got an allowance through college. I worked 3 jobs. You're just jealous," Rachel said, and her voice had an edge now. "You're jealous that I made something of myself and you didn't." The room tilted slightly. Not metaphorically. The actual dining room seemed to shift. "You know what?" I stood up. My napkin fell to the floor. "You're right. I am jealous. I'm jealous that you got parents who believed in you. I got parents who've spent 13 years telling me I'm not good enough." "Sophie, sit down," Dad commanded. "You're making a scene." "I'm making an exit," I said. "Enjoy your $200,000, Rachel." I hope the house is everything you dreamed of. You're being a failure right now, Mom said. This is exactly why we don't invest in you. This attitude. This ingratitude. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I picked up my purse and walked out. The April air was cool and clear. I sat in my 10-year-old Subaru with 160,000 miles and I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just drove. I drove to my apartment and I pulled out the file folder I kept in my closet. The one with my bank statements. $156,000 in savings. I'd been saving since I was 17. Every birthday check from grandparents. Every Christmas cash. Every paycheck from every job. I lived on $1,800 a month and saved everything else. My roommate thought I was broke. My family thought I was irresponsible. No one knew I'd been preparing for exactly this moment. That night I made 4 decisions. First, I changed my phone number. Second, I blocked every family member on every platform. Third, I started searching for farmland. Fourth, I scheduled a consultation with a therapist who specialized in family trauma. Jennifer Chen lived in the apartment below mine. She was 41, had immigrated from Taiwan at 19, and ran a successful catering business. She found me on the stairs the next morning with my laptop open to farm listings. "You okay?" she asked, setting down her grocery bags. I told her everything. The dinner. The $200,000. "You're being a failure right now." She listened until I finished, then sat down beside me. "You know what my parents told me when I said I wanted to cook professionally? That I was wasting my education. That I should be a doctor or engineer. You know what I did?" "What?" "I stopped asking their permission to live my life," she said simply. "Best decision I ever made." "What do you want, Sophie?" "Not what they want. What do you want?" The answer came immediately. A farm. I want to grow food. I want to feed people. I want to work with soil and seasons and make something real. "Then do that," Jennifer said. "You don't need their approval. You never did." 6 weeks later I found it. 55 acres in the valley, 90 minutes from the city where my family lived. The property had been a conventional dairy farm that went bankrupt. The land was depleted but recoverable. There was a farmhouse from the 1940s that needed everything, a huge barn with good bones, and a smaller outbuilding that could be converted to a farm stand. The price was $420,000. I offered $400,000 cash, close in 30 days. They accepted immediately. I kept my nonprofit job, they let me go remote 3 days a week, and I spent every other moment on that property. I hired soil consultants. I tested every acre. The land was tired, stripped from years of chemical agriculture and overgrazing, but it could be brought back with cover crops, compost, and thyme. I planted 20 acres in cover crops that first season. Rye, clover, vetch. I let it grow and then tilled it back in, feeding the soil. I read everything. I took online courses. I joined farming forums and attended workshops. Tom Rodriguez, my neighbor 4 miles west, showed up the 3rd week with the tractor attachment I needed. "Heard you're going organic," he said, climbing down from his truck. He was 56, had farmed conventionally for 30 years before transitioning to organic 5 years ago. "Smart move. Market's there if you do it right." "I don't know what I'm doing," I admitted. "Nobody does it first," he said. "I'll teach you. Come by Tuesday mornings. We'll walk my fields. I'll show you what works." So Tom became my mentor. He taught me crop rotation, companion planting, pest management without chemicals. He introduced me to the regional organic farming co-op. He showed me his spreadsheets. What crops brought the best return, which farmers markets were worth the vendor fees, how to calculate true cost of production. "Farming isn't romantic," he said during one of our Tuesday walks. "It's math and biology and weather gambling. But if you're willing to work, really work, you can make it." I started therapy with Dr. Walsh the same week I closed on the property. She specialized in complex family trauma and estrangement. "Your family's voices are in your head," she said during our second session. "Your mother saying unmarketable. Your father saying fantasy world. Your sister saying jealous. We need to evict those voices and replace them with truth." We worked on evidence folders. I documented everything. Every email I'd sent asking for help that was denied, every achievement they'd ignored, every comparison to Rachel, every dismissal. Not for revenge. For reality. So when my brain tried to tell me I was overreacting, I had proof. Protective expectations, Dr. Walsh called it. They will try to come back when they discover you're successful. We need to prepare boundaries now. I practiced boundary scripts until they felt natural. No is a complete sentence. I'm not available for that conversation. Access is earned, not presumed. The farmhouse transformation took 8 months. I learned to drywall, to tile, to install windows. I watched YouTube tutorials until 2 a.m., then practiced the next day. The house slowly came back to life. New kitchen, refinished floors, updated electrical, efficient heating. I converted the outbuilding to a farm stand with a commercial kitchen attached. I got licensed for value-added products. I learned to make jam, pickles, pesto, dried herbs. Spring came. Year 1 of actual production. I planted 15 acres in vegetables. Tomatoes, peppers, lettuce, kale, carrots, beets, squash, beans, herbs. I started small with each crop, testing what would grow well. I focused on crops that could be harvested multiple times or had long harvest windows. I hired 2 employees. Marcus, a kid aging out of foster care who needed structure and wages, and Angela, a recently divorced woman in her 50s who needed flexible hours and purpose. I paid them $24 an hour. I taught them everything Tom was teaching me. Why are you paying us so much? Marcus asked during his second week. Because your labor has value, I said. Because I know what it feels like to not be valued. Because I can afford to, and it's the right thing to do. The first farmers market was in June. I rented a booth space in the town square, the same town where my parents lived, though I didn't think about that at first. I sold out in 3 hours. The second week I brought twice as much. Sold out in 2 hours. By week 4 I had a line before I finished setting up. People loved the quality. Organic, picked at peak ripeness, varieties you couldn't get at grocery stores. I brought heirloom tomatoes in 6 colors. I brought purple carrots and golden beets. I brought herbs so fresh they still had morning dew. Where has this been all my life? One woman said, buying her 3rd bag of basil. Right here, I said. Just getting started. I added 3 more farmers markets. I started a CSA program, community-supported agriculture, where people could subscribe for weekly produce boxes. I got 30 members the first season. Then 50. Then 80. The farm paid for itself that first production year. Just barely, but it did. Year 2 I expanded to 30 acres in production. I added cut flowers, zinnias, sunflowers, dahlias. I added strawberries and raspberries. I started supplying 3 local restaurants with specialty produce. I hired 2 more employees. The farm stand stayed open 3 days a week and people drove from 40 miles away. I added bees with Tom's teaching. 12 hives that first year. The honey sold for $16 a jar and I couldn't keep it in stock. I added chickens for eggs. Pasture-raised, mobile coops that I moved weekly. The eggs had deep orange yolks and sold for $8 a dozen. I had a waiting list. The farm grossed $280,000 that second year. After expenses and payroll, I cleared $125,000 profit. I was 27 and I owned my land outright. I was feeding hundreds of families. I employed 6 people at fair wages. And my family had no idea. 2 years and 4 months after that Sunday dinner, my father drove past my farmer's market booth. He was running errands in town, his town where he'd lived for 30 years, and he saw the crowd. 50 people deep waiting for organic produce. He got curious. He walked over. My booth had a banner, Riverside Organic Farm, Sophie Chin, proprietor. He stood at the edge of the crowd for 5 minutes watching me. I didn't see him. I was busy helping customers, weighing tomatoes, making change, laughing with regulars who came every week. Mrs. Patterson was telling me about her grandson who wanted to be a farmer. You're such an inspiration, she said. A young woman running this whole operation. My grandson asks about you constantly. Tell him to come by the farm, I said. I do workshops for young people interested in agriculture. Then I looked up and saw him. My father. Standing at the edge of my market booth. His face was a complicated mix of shock and something else I couldn't identify. Our eyes met. I finished with Mrs. Patterson. I helped 3 more customers. My hand stayed steady through training and practice. Finally, the line cleared temporarily and he approached. Sophie, he said. Can I help you? I asked pleasantly, professionally. The same voice I used with every customer. This is yours. He gestured at the booth that produced the banner. Yes. I don't understand, he said. How did you buy and build a successful farm? I finished for him. About 2 years ago. With what money? The question came out sharp, suspicious. Mine, I said simply. I saved for 8 years. Bought 55 acres cash. Built a business. A customer approached with beets and carrots. I weighed them, made small talk about roasting methods, accepted payment. My father waited, visibly struggling with what to say. How much is this place worth? He finally asked. The property appraised at $2.9 million 3 months ago, I said. The business grossed $280,000 last year. This year's tracking higher. His face went pale. Literally pale. That's impossible. It's documented, I said. Tax returns. Bank statements. Appraisal letters. All very possible. Why didn't you tell us? He asked, and his voice had shifted. Softer. Calculated soft. Tell who? I asked. I don't have family contact. Sophie, don't be ridiculous. We're your parents. Are you? I asked quietly. Another customer approached and I held up one finger. One moment, please. I helped them select lettuce varieties, explained the difference between Butterhead and Romaine, sent them off happy. We should talk, Dad said when I turned back. Somewhere private. We're talking now, I said. I have a business to run. This is clearly not the place, he said, glancing at the crowd. Come to the house. Tomorrow. We'll have dinner. We'll discuss this properly. No, I said. The word landed between us like a stone in still water. Excuse me. His voice had the edge now. The authority voice. I said no, I repeated. I'm not available for that. I'm your father, he said. You can't just refuse. I can actually, I said. I have been. For 2 years. His jaw worked. Your mother has been sick over this. She's been worried sick about you. Then she should have thought about that before she called me unmarketable and ungrateful, I said evenly. Before you gave Rachel $200,000 and told me I was living in a fantasy world. We can explain that, he started. You already did, I said. At dinner. Very clearly. Rachel was responsible. Rachel earned investment. I was a failure. You were explicit. We were trying to teach you accountability, he said. A laugh escaped before I could stop it. Not bitter. Just amazed. You gave your other daughter $200,000 and you call that teaching me accountability? Rachel had proven herself, he said. So have I said quietly. I just didn't need your approval to do it. Marcus appeared beside me with a crate of tomatoes to restock. Boss, we're running low on the heirlooms. Thanks, Marcus. I'll get more from the truck. I turned back to my father. I need to get back to work. Was there anything else? This conversation isn't over, Dad said. Actually, it is, I said. Have a nice day. I walked to my truck, got more tomatoes and returned to the booth. When I looked back, he was gone. My phone rang 15 minutes later. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. The voicemail was my mother. Sophie, your father just told me we need to talk immediately. This is unacceptable. You've been lying to us for years. Call me back right now. I deleted it. The second call came an hour later. Rachel's number. I watched it ring through. Her voicemail. Sophie, what the hell? Dad is freaking out. Mom is crying. You own a farm? You never said anything. We're family. You owe us at least an explanation. Call me back. I blocked her number. The email arrived that evening. Subject line, we need to talk, urgent. From my father. 3 paragraphs about how they deserved to know what I was doing with my life. How family doesn't hide things from family. How I was being selfish and childish. I archived it without responding. Tom found me checking irrigation that evening, watching the sun set over 30 acres of growing vegetables. You all right? He asked. My father discovered the farm today, I said. At market. Tom nodded slowly. How'd that go? He's upset I didn't tell them, I said. That I've been lying for 2 years. You haven't been lying, Tom said. You've been living. There's a difference. They want to talk, I said. They want explanations. And what do you want? Tom asked. To keep doing this, I said, gesturing at the fields. Without them in it. Then that's your answer, Tom said simply. He paused. You know, when I transitioned to organic, my brother said I was an idiot. Said I'd lose the farm within 2 years. Said I was throwing away our family legacy. He smiled slightly. Haven't spoken to him in 7 years. Farm's never been more profitable. Sometimes the people who share your blood are the ones who can't see you clearly. The courier arrived 2 days later with an envelope. Inside, a check for $200,000 and a note in my mother's handwriting. For your farm expansion. We want to invest in your success. We're proud of you. We want to be part of this. Please call us. Love, Mom and Dad. I stood in my kitchen holding that check for a long time. Then I took it to the commercial shredder in my farm office. I ran it through until the numbers became confetti. I put the shreds in an envelope with a single sentence on my farm letterhead. You can't purchase access. I mailed it back certified. The emails escalated over the next 2 weeks. My father sent a business proposal. He wanted to help me expand, offering his business expertise and connections in exchange for a partnership stake. I replied once, the farm is not for sale. Do not contact me again. My mother sent long emails about family bonds, about how she'd carried me for 9 months, about how I was breaking her heart and couldn't I see how much they'd changed. I didn't respond. Dr. Walsh had prepared me for this. The guilt trips. The historical revisionism. The sudden claims of pride after years of dismissal. They want access to your success, Dr. Walsh said during our session. Not reconciliation with you. Notice how the contact started only after they discovered what you'd built. Rachel tried a different approach. She sent photos of us as kids. Birthday parties, Halloween costumes, summer vacations. Remember when we were close? She wrote. Don't throw away our whole relationship over money. I miss you. I'm sorry if I didn't stand up for you enough. Can we please talk? I stared at those photos for a long time. Then I wrote back, the only message I'd send. We were never close, Rachel. We were cast in roles. You were the success. I was the failure. I don't want to play anymore. I hope your house is everything you wanted. I hope you're happy. But I'm happy too, and I built this without you. I'm keeping it that way. She didn't respond. Week 3 after the market discovery, my father showed up at the farm. The gate camera chimed at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. I watched him on my phone from inside the farmhouse. He stood at the entrance looking at my sign, Riverside Organic Farm, private property, no trespassing. He pressed the intercom. Sophie, I know you're there. I just want to talk. 5 minutes. Please. I pressed the button. Leave. I drove 90 minutes, he said. You can give me 5 minutes. You had 29 years, I said. You used them poorly. I'm sorry, he said, and his voice cracked slightly. Your mother and I are both sorry. We made mistakes. We can fix this. No, I said. You can't. You told me I was living in a fantasy world. You called me unmarketable. You gave Rachel $200,000 and called me a failure at the same dinner. Those aren't mistakes. That's who you chose to be. We want to make amends, he said. We want to invest in you now. We see what you've built. We're proud. You're impressed, I corrected. There's a difference. Pride would have been supporting me before I succeeded. This is just opportunism. That's not fair, he said. Neither was that Sunday dinner, I said. Neither were 13 years of telling me I wasn't good enough. I'm done keeping score. I'm just done. We're family, he said, and the desperation was clear now. No, I said quietly. Tom, who taught me farming, is family. Jennifer, who believed in me, is family. Marcus and Angela, who work beside me, are family. You're just people who hurt me consistently until I left. I turned off the intercom. I watched him stand there for 14 minutes. Then he got in his car and drove away. The voicemails continued. 23 from my mother over 2 weeks. Escalating from gentle to angry to desperate. How can you do this to us? Your father's blood pressure is through the roof. We made mistakes, but this is cruel. I blocked each new number. My sister showed up at the farmer's market 4 weeks after my father's first sighting. I saw her before she saw me, scanning the booths looking for mine. When she found it, she stood at the edge of the crowd for a long time, just watching. I helped customers. I laughed with regulars. I gave advice on pest control for home gardens. I packed produce and made change and built the community I'd created. Finally, Rachel approached during a lull. "Sophie," she said. "Rachel. Your booth is impressive," she said. "This whole operation. Thank you. I didn't know you had it in you," she said, and I don't think she meant it the way it sounded. But that's how it landed. "Neither did they," I said. "That was the problem." "They're devastated," Rachel said. "Mom cries every day. Dad barely eats. They just want to talk to you. They want access to my success," I said. "It's not the same thing." "That's not fair," Rachel said. "They made mistakes but they're trying to fix them now. They're trying to benefit from what I built without them," I said. "There's a difference." "I don't understand why you're being so stubborn," Rachel said, frustration bleeding into her voice. "So they didn't support your farm dream. So what? You succeeded anyway. Why can't you just accept their apology and move on?" I looked at her for a long moment. "You got $200,000 for being responsible. I got called a failure for asking for help with student loans. You got Italy for your MBA. I got Applebee's for my bachelor's. You got a car for high school graduation. I got a Target gift card. You had parents who invested in your dreams. I had parents who mocked mine. And you're asking me why I can't just accept an apology." "You're holding a grudge," Rachel said. "I'm holding a boundary," I corrected. "There's a difference. I forgive them for my own peace. But forgiveness isn't reconciliation. It isn't access. It isn't a relationship." "So that's it?" Rachel asked. "You're just done with all of us?" "I'm done being treated like I don't matter until I prove I do," I said. "I'm done with conditional love. I'm done with relationships where I'm only valuable when I'm useful." A customer approached with questions about heirloom tomatoes. I turned away from Rachel and helped them select varieties, explained growing techniques, sent them off with growing tips written on the back of my business card. When I turned back, Rachel was gone. Month 6 after the discovery, a journalist contacted me. She was writing a feature on young farmers revolutionizing local food systems. Someone had recommended my operation. I agreed to the interview. I showed her the fields, the farm stand, the community kitchen. I explained my business model, my commitment to fair wages, my belief in feeding people good food at fair prices. "How did you get started?" she asked. I told her the truth. Not all of it, but enough. "My family didn't believe in this dream," I said. "They thought farming was impractical. They invested heavily in my sister's conventional career path and told me I was wasting my potential. So I saved for years, bought land, and built this without their support or knowledge." "Are they proud now?" she asked. I thought about that. "They're impressed. Which isn't the same thing. Pride would have been believing in me before the appraisal came back at $2.9 million. The article ran in the regional Sunday magazine. "Feeding the Future: How Young Farmers Are Rebuilding Local Food Systems." My story was the centerpiece. 4 pages with photos of the fields, the farm stand, me harvesting tomatoes with Marcus and Angela. The article mentioned the family dynamic briefly, tastefully. But enough. My inbox exploded with messages from strangers. "This is my story too. Thank you for building something beautiful. Your farm gives me hope." My father sent one email after the article published. Subject: "How could you?" I didn't open it. I archived it with all the others. My mother left one voicemail from a new number. "You've humiliated us publicly. Everyone we know has read that article. How dare you air our private family business? This is unforgivable." "Then we're finally in agreement," I said to my empty kitchen and blocked that number too. Year 3 on the farm. 40 acres in production now. The business grossed $420,000. I cleared $200,000 profit after expenses and payroll. More than Rachel made with her MBA. Except I owned my land. I owed nothing to anyone. I employed 9 people at living wages. I added a farm-to-table dinner series, prix-fixe meals using only ingredients from the farm and neighboring farms. They sold out within hours of announcement. People drove 2 hours to eat at communal tables in my barn under string lights. I started hosting school field trips. Kids learned where food came from, put their hands in soil, harvested vegetables to take home. I charged schools nothing. It was an investment in the future. Marcus got accepted to state school for sustainable agriculture with a full scholarship. I never thought I'd go to college, he told me, crying. You showed me it was possible. You showed yourself, I said. I just gave you space to grow. Angela became my farm manager. She'd learned every aspect of the operation and had a gift for logistics and planning. I forgot I was capable, she told me once. My ex-husband told me I was useless for so long I believed it. You reminded me I'm not. Tom and his wife became like parents to me. Real parents. They invited me to holidays. They gave me advice without judgment. They celebrated my successes without needing to claim credit. Jennifer and her family, she'd married since I'd known her, included me in their family dinners every Sunday I wasn't at market. Her kids called me Aunt Sophie. I taught her daughter Emma about growing herbs, and she kept a garden journal with careful observations. Why doesn't your real family come to visit? Emma asked me once. Because they're not part of my life anymore, I said honestly. Did they do something really bad? They did lots of small hurtful things for a very long time, I said. Until I realized I was happier without them. That's sad, Emma said thoughtfully. But also, you seem really happy here. I am, I said. Happier than I've ever been. Dr. Walsh and I had reduced our sessions to monthly check-ins. You've done remarkable work, she said during our last session of year 3. You've built not just a business but an entire life on your own terms. I still get sad sometimes, I admitted. About what I wish they'd been. Grief for what should have been is normal, she said. Healthy even. You can mourn the family you deserved and still maintain boundaries with the family you got. Those aren't contradictory. One evening in late October I got a letter. Actual paper, actual stamps. My father's handwriting on the envelope. I sat on my porch for 20 minutes before opening it. The sun set over 40 acres of harvested fields. The season was ending. The ground was resting. The letter was 5 pages. Handwritten. It started with, Dear Sophie, and ended with, Your father who loves you. In between, it said many of the things I'd needed to hear at 16, at 23, at 26. It acknowledged the favoritism. It admitted the cruelty of that Sunday dinner. It recognized years of dismissal and comparison. It apologized. It also asked, carefully, humbly, if we could rebuild something. Not what was, but something new. Something honest. I read it 4 times. Then I wrote back. 2 pages. Thank you for this letter. I've waited a long time for these words. I believe you're sincere. I believe you have regret. But I need you to understand something. Forgiveness isn't reconciliation. I forgive you. I genuinely do. I've worked too hard for my peace to carry anger. But forgiveness doesn't mean I want you back in my life. I've built something here that works. I've built a family that sees me. I've built a success that's mine that I don't need to prove or defend. Maybe someday that changes. Maybe in 5 years or 10 years we can have coffee and talk about farming. But not today. Not this year. Possibly not ever. I need you to respect that this is my choice. The gate stays closed. The numbers stay blocked. This boundary stays firm. I hope you understand. I hope you find peace with it. But this is my life and I'm keeping it. I signed it Sophie, and mailed it without a return address. Year 4. 50 acres in production. The business broke $500,000 in revenue. I bought an adjacent 20 acres for expansion. The farm supplied 7 restaurants now, ran 3 farmers markets, maintained a CSA with 150 members, hosted monthly farm dinners, ran educational workshops and employed 14 people. I was written up in state and national farming magazines. Young Farmer of the Year finalist. Invited to speak at conferences about sustainable agriculture and fair labor practices. I bought my employees health insurance. I started a profit-sharing program. When Angela's daughter needed braces, I gave her an interest-free loan. You don't have to do this, Angela said, crying. Family takes care of family, I said. Your family. Tom's wife got sick that winter. Breast cancer. I organized a meal train with the farm community. I hired extra help so Tom could take time off. I told him his job was safe, his wife's health was priority, everything else would wait. You're a good person, Sophie, he said. I'm trying to be the person I needed when I was younger, I said. My father sent one final letter that year. Brief. 1 page. I understand. I respect your decision. I'm sorry for everything. I'm proud of you, though I know I don't have the right to be. If you ever change your mind, I'm here. But I won't push. I love you, Dad. I kept that letter. I didn't respond. But I kept it. Rachel sent a Christmas card. Just a card. No note. Just her signature and love, Rachel. I didn't send one back. But it didn't hurt as much as I thought it would. My mother sent nothing. Maybe she was the angriest. Maybe she couldn't forgive my boundaries. Maybe she'd convinced herself she was the victim. I slept deeply anyway. Spring of year 5. I stood at the edge of my fields at dawn. 50 acres about to wake up for another season. The soil was healthy now, rich and dark and alive. The barn was full of equipment. The farm stand was ready to open. My employees were arriving for the season. Tom walked up beside me with coffee. "Hell of a thing you built here," he said. "We built it," I said. "You taught me everything." "I taught you technique," Tom said. "You brought the vision. The heart. The belief that people deserve good food and fair treatment. That's all you." Jennifer's family pulled up the drive. They were coming to help with spring planting. Emma jumped out already wearing her farm boots. "Aunt Sophie, can I help with the tomato seedlings?" "Absolutely," I said. "Let's get started." My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I glanced at it. A text. "Saw your feature in the Times. Congratulations. You've built something incredible. I'm sorry we weren't there for it. I understand why you've stayed away. I would have too. Be well, Rachel." I read it twice. Then I typed back, "Thank you. I hope you're well too." She responded, "I am. Take care of yourself, Sophie." I set the phone down. "Everything okay?" Tom asked. "Yeah," I said. "Everything's okay." And it was. The sun rose over my fields. My chosen family gathered around me. The season stretched ahead full of possibility. The soil was ready. The seeds were ready. I was ready. Keep the farm. I keep my boundaries. I keep the peace I built with my own 2 hands. The gate code doesn't change. Most numbers stay blocked. The life I built stays mine. And the vegetables? They keep growing. The tomatoes ripen in 6 colors. The lettuce fills hundreds of CSA boxes. The herbs season thousands of meals. I feed the town that my family lives in, and they never knew I was capable of it. Sometimes failure looks like leaving. Sometimes success looks like 50 acres of proof that they were wrong. I grew it anyway. I keep it anyway. I'm keeping it still. The land is mine. The business is mine. The peace is mine. And that's worth more than $200,000 could ever buy.